Over the past 5 months, I've been collecting stats of various different Pokemons. I've done enough stat collecting for 50 different Pokemons. This video will just be compiling them together, for those who may not have seen them or just want to see them all at the same time. I hope you enjoyed some of these stats I was able to extract, and let's just start. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. Since this is the first one, we got Bulbasaur, so yeah. Out of all Pokemon who has below a stat of 50 HP, attack, defense, and speed, Bulbasaur has the highest base stat with 318. When adding all of Bulbasaur's offensive categories and all of its bulk categories, both equal the same amount. 45 Pokemon has such a case, but Bulbasaur is the only poison type Pokemon to have this occurrence. Out of all first stage dual type starter Pokemon, Bulbasaur is the fastest. Its only competition is Rowlet. Yeah, that's some distinct stats for Bulbasaur. Next time will be Charmander, and that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Charmander. Charmander's stats are as follows. This makes it completely identical to Cyndaquil. Charmander is part of the only fire type evolution line that eventually gains the flying type and wings. When adding all of Charmander's offensive values, it equals to 177. The only other Pokemon to have this exact value are first form fire starters that start with the letter C. None of the other 1022 Pokemon has this exact offense value. Yeah, that's some distinct stats for Charmander. Cyndaquil kinda messes things up, but whatever. Next time will be Squirtle, and that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Squirtle. When looking at all first form water type starters, Squirtle has both the most defense and special defense. When looking at all the starters, the Pokemon who allocates the most of their stats towards their bulk is Squirtle. Only looking at Pokemon who has non-equalized attack stat and non-equalized defense stats, these are Squirtle's gap. Squirtle's combined stat gap is 3, which is the lowest amongst all Pokemon that aren't equalized in the aforementioned circumstances. Yeah, that's some distinct stats for Squirtle. Yeah, who do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Grubbin. Looking at all 3 staged bug evolution lines, Grubbin is the only one to outspeed its 3rd stage counterpart. When looking at the following classifications of physical sweeper, special sweeper, physical tank, and special tank, Grubbin is able to hit triple digit in all of these categories, making it tied for the lowest base stat of a Pokemon to meet said conditions. Out of all 1079 regular and regional Pokemon, there exists a total of 508 monotype Pokemon, 270 of which can evolve. 69 of the remaining Pokemon gain a second typing upon evolution. But it is only when Grubbin evolves does this Pokemon gain a second typing of electric. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Grubbin. What Pokemon do you want to see next? Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got the Blade. Looking at only ghost types, the Blade ranks first overall in defense allocation. In terms of being a physical tank, the Blade would get a score of 260, which is the highest of both all ghost types and all non-final form Pokemons. There are a total of 14 Pokemon with a gap between both their defensive stat at triple digit or higher. The Blade has the second lowest base stat amongst all Pokemon that have this occurrence. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for the Blade. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Fuecoco. In terms of being classified as a physical sweeper, Fuecoco ranks dead last amongst all first stage starter Pokemon. Looking at a Pokemon's bulk, Fuecoco ranks first as the bulkiest first stage fire starter. Fuecoco stands alone at the top for having the highest HP allocation when compared to all other first stage starter Pokemon. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Fuecoco. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Sylveon. Looking at all Pokemon whose Pokedex number is a multiple of 50, Sylveon is the only one that possesses the fairy typing. In terms of being classified as a special tank, Sylveon leads against all other evolutions with 240. There are 135 Pokemon that start with the letter S, which is more than 1/8 of the entire Pokedex, making it the most common initial letter for a Pokemon. Out of all these Pokemon, Sylveon is able to rank second in terms of total special defense, only being placed behind the Pokemon with the highest special defense in the entire series. Yeah, that's some distinct stats for Sylveon. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Raboot. Looking at all second stage fire starter Pokemon, Raboot comes out as the fastest. Unfortunately, when looking at all second form starters, Raboot is tied for last for lowest special attack, making it the only fire type to even place in the bottom 10. However, when looking at the classification of being a physical sweeper, Raboot redeems itself by achieving the highest score amongst all second stage starters. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Raboot. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Decidueye. Bulk is a Pokemon's HP plus defensive stats. Decidueye total bulk score is 253, making it one of 60 Pokemon to have a unique bulk score. There are a total of 10 Grass Ghost dual type Pokemons. Decidueye leads them all in the following categories: total base stat, total special defense, when all physical stats are removed, smallest attack differential, and largest special defense to defense ratio. There is a total of 113 regular and regional form flying type Pokemon. 43 of them are capable of evolving, but only 3 times does the evolution end up with a loss in the flying type. The first time was with Scizor, the second time being Decidueye, and the third time also being done by Decidueye. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Decidueye. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Galissopod. Looking at the classification of physical tank, when compared to the most commonly used type in water, Galissopod was still able to rank in second, only behind Cloyster. There are 66 Pokemon that start with the letter G. Of all Pokemons who have this initial, Galissopod is tied for the highest defense stat with 140, but does so with a lower base stat than Groudon. Speed allocation is a Pokemon's speed stat divided by its base stat. Amongst all Pokemon evolution, Galissopod has the largest decrease in speed allocation of all time, with a decrease of 27.3%. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Galissopod. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And yeah, that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stats. This time we got Pyukumuku. Pyukumuku has the lowest value of any stat category across all water types, with a speed stat of 5. Its insanely low speed stats allows it to rank second to last in terms of lowest speed allocation by a Pokemon, only ahead of Shuckle. Bulk is a Pokemon's HP, defense, and special defense stats combined. Bulk allocation is calculated by looking at all the stats inputted into one's bulk divided by its total base stat. Pyukumuku leads all water types for having the highest bulk allocation, with 76.8%. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Pyukumuku. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Spinarak. There exists 9 Pokemon who has a base stat total of exactly 250. In terms of Pokédex number, Spinarak was first to receive such a total. Looking at all Pokemon with a base stat of this amount or lower, Spinarak is tied for second in terms of having the highest attack value. This high attack to base stat ratio allows Spinarak to rank first amongst all Poison Bug Pokemon on having the highest attack allocation. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Spinarak. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And yeah, that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Skarmory. In terms of allocating special attack, Skarmory ranks as the second lowest amongst all flying types. On the other side, it ranks first against all flying types on having the largest defense allocation. This huge defense allocation also allows for Skarmory to rank first amongst all 113 flying types for having the highest defense stat, even beating out Lugia. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Skarmory. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And yeah, that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Thievul. Out of all dark type to dark type evolutions, Thievul gains the largest base stat increase from evolution. Looking at the classification of being a special tank, out of all dark types, Thievul ranks 13th and is one of 32 dark types that is able to score a value of 145. Of all dark types to achieve a special tank score of 145, Thievul does so with the lowest base stat. Not only that, but Thievul is also the only dark type to hit a special tank score of 145 without having the strongest stat hitting triple digit. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Thievul. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And yeah, that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Iron Crown. In terms of being classified as a special tank, Iron Crown leads against all Psychic or Steel types in the Paldea region. Looking at all Psychic Steel dual type Pokemon, Iron Crown leads in the following categories: highest special attack, largest special attack allocation, largest special attack to attack ratio, largest special defense to defense ratio, best special tank, and best special sweeper. Iron Crown's special sweeper score is so high that it is able to rank itself in second amongst all Steel types, only behind Dialga. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Iron Crown. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Mighty Yina. Looking at all 80 regular and regional form dark type Pokemon, they on average produce a base stat of this amount. Only Mighty Yina is within 15 points of each of the averages for all dark types. Similarly, the dark type on average allocates these percentages of their total base stat to certain stats. Mighty Yina is the only dark type whose own allocations are within 2 percentage points of each of the averages. Out of all dark types to dark type evolution, Mighty Yina gains the largest percent increase in base stat at 91%. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Mighty Yina. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Mudkip. Mudkip HP, defense, special attack, and special defense are all equal, making it have 4 stat categories equalized to one another. This is the most out of any first stage starter Pokemon. However, Mudkip ranks last for having the lowest speed stat amongst all water type first stage starters, but redeems itself as it also has the highest attack value amongst all first stage water starters. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Mudkip. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Metagross. Out of all Pokemon who are dual type of Psychic and Steel, Metagross leads in having the largest attack allocation. Looking at the classification of being a physical tank, Metagross is number 1 amongst all Psychic types. Looking at a Pokemon's bulk and a Pokemon's offense, there are 45 Pokemon who have both of these categories completely equalized. Of these 45, Metagross has both the highest attack value and the highest defense value. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Metagross. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And yeah, that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Reunucleus. Out of all monotype that begins with the letter R, Reunucleus has the highest special attack. If we were to include for dual type Pokemon, Reunucleus still leads all Pokemon that begins with the letter R for having the largest special attack allocation. When adding the stat of HP and special attack together, Reunucleus is able to rank itself in 4th amongst all Psychic types, only behind legendary Psychic Pokemon that have a base stat of 680. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Reunucleus. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Milotic. If physical stats were removed, Milotic would rank 2nd when compared to all mono water type Pokemon. Looking at the classification of a special tank, Milotic ranks 2nd amongst all mono water type Pokemons. Looking at all Pokemon that starts with the letter M, Milotic leads in having the highest special defense against all monotypes. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Milotic. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Toxtricity. When adding the sum of both attack and special attack together, it ranks itself 2nd amongst all poison types, only behind Eternatus. This high special attack and attack also allows it to rank in 2nd for highest special attack and attack allocations for a Pokemon that start with the letter T, only behind Trapinch. Out of all electric to electric type evolution, Toxtricity gains the largest base stat increase and is the only one to have doubled its base stat upon evolution. It also leads all poison type for having the largest base stat increase on evolution. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Toxtricity. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Joltik. Looking at all electric types, Joltik is undisputedly the smallest one out of them all. The electric type on average distribute these percentages of their total base stat to certain stats. Joltik's own stat allocation allows it to be the one and only electric type to have all its categories within 2.4 percentage point of each of the averages. When looking at a Pokemon's strongest stat and a Pokemon's weakest stat, Joltik has the smallest gap between its best and worst stat when compared to all other electric type Pokemon, with a gap of 18. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Joltik. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Greedent. Squovit to Greedent is the only time a regional rodent has had a loss in speed during their evolution. This insanely low speed stat allows Greedent to rank 2nd to last amongst all normal types for having the lowest speed allocation, only ahead of Munchlax. However, Greedent does have an insanely high HP stat. Its HP is so high that it's able to rank in 2nd amongst all Galarian Pokemon on having the largest HP allocation, only behind Regidrago. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Greedent. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Mimikyu. Despite being released in the 7th generation of Alola, Mimikyu was the first Pokemon to be endowed with the typing of Ghost and Fairy. Looking at all unevolved Pika clones, Mimikyu leads in the following categories: highest defense, highest special defense, highest bulk, best physical tank, smallest gap between offense and bulk stats, and highest base stat. When adding the sum of its attack allocation and special defense allocation together, it is able to rank itself all the way up to 2nd against all other fairy type Pokemon, placing only behind Diancie. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Mimikyu. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Diancie. Looking at the classification of being a physical tank, Diancie leads against all other fairy type Pokemon. Looking at only regular and regional forms, Diancie is tied for having the highest base stat amongst all rock type Pokemon. When adding the sum of the Pokemon's attack allocation and special defense allocation together, Diancie comes out in first when compared with all other fairy type Pokemon. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Diancie. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Cinderace. Out of all final stage fire starters, Cinderace comes out as the fastest. Looking at the classification of being a physical sweeper, Cinderace leads against all 3rd stage starter Pokemons. In fact, its physical sweeper score is so large that when compared to all 86 Pokemon that begins with the letter C, it places itself in 2nd, only behind the legendary Chien Pao. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Cinderace. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Mantine. Looking at the classification of being a special tank, Mantine is one of 20 flying types to hit a score of 190 or higher. It ranks 8th overall, and out of all flying types that have a special tank score of 190 or higher, Mantine is the only one who reaches this benchmark without hitting a base stat total of 500 or higher. Mantine has the highest special defense amongst all non-legendary flying type Pokemons. This huge special defense stat also allows Mantine to rank 1st amongst all Pokemon that starts with the letter M on having a high special defense, even beating out mythical Pokemon such as Meloetta. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Mantine. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Furret. Out of all regional rodents, Furret gains the largest speed increase upon evolution. This huge speed stat allows Furret to rank in 2nd for having the highest speed stat amongst all normal type Pokemon released in the Johto region. Out of all regular and regional form Pokemon, only Furret has the following stat line: a speed stat greater than HP, HP stat greater than attack, attack greater than defense, defense greater than special defense, and special defense greater than special attack. Out of over 1000 Pokemon, not a single other one completes such a condition. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Furret. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Deoxys. Out of all legendary and mythical Pokemon, Deoxys has the lowest HP allocation of them all. But on the other hand, Deoxys leads all psychic Pokemon in the following categories: highest attack, highest speed, best physical sweeper, best special sweeper, highest attack allocation, and highest offense allocation. Deoxys' offense score is so high that it ranks 1st amongst all other Pokemons, not just only psychic types. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Deoxys. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Chandelure. Back when Chandelure was released, and looking at the classification of being a special tank, Chandelure used to rank 1st amongst all ghost type Pokemon. Chandelure's special attack was so high that it ranked in 2nd when in comparison to all Pokemon released in the Unova region, only behind the main legendary of Reshiram. Moreover, even now, looking at all 156 dual type Pokemon with equalized defense stat, Chandelure leads in having the largest special attack allocation. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Chandelure. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Minior. Minior HP, attack, special attack, and speed are all equal, making it have 4 stat categories equalized to each other. This is the single most amount of equivalent stats done by a flying type Pokemon. Looking at all 113 regular and regional form flying type Pokemon, the average base stat rounded to the nearest ones is 440. Minior is able to hit a base stat of this exact amount. Minior BMI value is so large that it leads against both all flying types and all rock type Pokemon. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Minior. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Glalie. There are 16 Pokemon that have completely equalized stats for all categories. Glalie was one of 2 Ice-type Pokemon to do this, the other one being its pre-evolution. Looking at all Ice types released in the Hoenn region, Glalie ranks as being the best physical sweeper and best special sweeper amongst all of them. Looking at all Ice Pokemon to Ice Pokemon evolution, Glalie has the largest increase in BMI on its evolution. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Glalie. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Steelix. Looking at all ground type Pokemon, Steelix has the highest defense amongst all of them. Likewise, looking at all steel type Pokemon, Steelix has the highest defense allocation amongst all of them. Looking at the classification of being a physical tank, Steelix leads against all Johto Pokemon on being the strongest. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Steelix. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Serperior. Serperior HP, attack, and special attack are all equal, giving it 3 equivalent stats. This is tied for the most out of all 3rd stage starter Pokemon. Serperior also has the smallest gap between its offense and bulk stat amongst all 3rd stage monotype starter Pokemon. And when adding the sum of a Pokemon's speed and defense, Serperior is the only 3rd stage starter Pokemon to pass the 200 mark with a score of 208. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Serperior. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Tyrantrum. Out of all dragon type Pokemon, Tyrantrum has the second largest defense to special defense ratio, making it one of 2 dragon types have this ratio above 2. When compared with all other fossil Pokemon, Tyrantrum comes out as the heaviest. Offense is a Pokemon's attack, special attack, and speed. Bulk is a Pokemon's HP, defense, and special defense. Tyrantrum has the lowest difference between bulk and offense out of all Pokemon whose offense score is greater than their bulk score. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Tyrantrum. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Arctovish. As of Generation 9, Arctovish currently stands as being the most recent fossil Pokemon. When compared against all other Ice-Water Dual-type Pokemon, Arctovish leads in having the largest sum of attack and special defense allocation combined. If all Ice-type Pokemons were to be set in alphabetical order, Arctovish would be the first one to have a triple-digit stat for any stat category. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Arctovish. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Dragapult. Looking at the classification of being a physical sweeper, Dragapult leads in comparison against all other ghost type Pokemon. Offense is a Pokemon's attack, special attack, and speed. Bulk is a Pokemon's HP, defense, and special defense. The gap between Dragapult's offense and bulk is 124. This leads against all other dragon type Pokemons. Dragapult's insanely high speed stat allows it to rank first as the fastest ghost type Pokemon. It is also ranked as the fastest dragon type Pokemon. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Dragapult. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Greninja. Greninja has the lowest HP value of all 3rd stage dual type starter Pokemon, with a value of 72. However, it does have an insanely high speed stat that allows it to rank first as the fastest water type starter Pokemon. This speed paired up with its attack stat also allows Greninja to rank first amongst all water starter Pokemons as the best physical sweeper. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Greninja. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Skellydirge. When compared against all other fire ghost dual type Pokemon, Skellydirge leads in the following category: highest bulk, most HP, largest HP allocation, heaviest weight, and largest BMI. Skellydirge bulk is high enough to allow it to rank first amongst all 3rd stage fire starter Pokemons. Out of all regular and regional form Pokemon, only Skellydirge has the following stat line: a special attack stat greater than HP, HP greater than defense, defense greater than attack, attack equal to the special defense, and special defense greater than speed. Out of over 1000 Pokemon, not a single other one completes such a condition. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Skellydirge. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Primarina. Primarina's special attack allocation is so high that it ranks 3rd amongst all fairy type Pokemon, only behind those that are associated with the type that on average has the highest special attack. Looking at the classification of being a special tank, Primarina leads against all other 3rd stage starter Pokemons. Its special tank score is so high that it's able to rank in 2nd amongst all dual type Pokemon that begins with the letter P, only behind the legendary Palkia. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Primarina. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Ariados. Looking at all poison bug dual type Pokemon, Ariados is tied on having the highest HP value. Ariados has the lowest maximum out of both all bug types that begins with the letter A and poison types that begins with the letter A. Bulk is a Pokemon's HP, defense, and special defense. Ariados is one of 5 bug type Pokemon to have all 3 of these stats equalized. However, it is the only one of such to have its total bulk score outweigh the value of their total offense score. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Ariados. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Cottony. Cottony was the first Pokemon to be endowed with the typing of Grass and Fairy. Cottony's weight is so low that it is ranked as the 2nd lightest Pokemon introduced in the Unova region, tied with Joltik. When combining a Pokemon's defense and speed allocations together, Cottony leads against all other Fairy type Pokemon. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Cottony. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And yeah, that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Beheeyem. Out of all Pokemon that begins with the letter B, Beheeyem ranks 2nd in terms of having the highest special attack, only behind the Ultra Beast of Blacephalon. Looking at the classification of being a special tank, Beheeyem leads against all final form Pokemon from the Unova region for having the highest special tank allocation. Out of all regular and regional form Pokemon, only Beheeyem has the following stat line: a special stat greater than special defense greater than HP, HP equal to attack, and attack equal to defense. Out of over 1000 Pokemon, not a single other one completes such a condition. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Beheeyem. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Heatran. Heatran was introduced in the Sinnoh region as the first Fire-Steel dual-type Pokemon. It still remains as the only Pokemon to have this typing. When combining a Pokemon's special attack and defense together, Heatran leads against all other Pokemon that begins with the letter H. The value of Heatran's BMI is so large that it ranks first amongst all dual-type Fire-type Pokemons, with the value nearing 150. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Heatran. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Tyranitar. Looking at only regular and regional forms, Tyranitar is tied for having the highest base stat amongst all rock-type Pokemons. When adding the sum of a Pokemon's worst 3 stats together, the sum of Tyranitar's lowest 3 stats would be the highest amongst all rock-type Pokemons. Bulk is a Pokemon's HP, defense, and special defense. Tyranitar is the only rock type that has a triple digit value in all of these categories. Tyranitar is also the only dark type to meet this condition. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Tyranitar. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Wishiwashi. While in its solo form, Wishiwashi has the lowest base stat in the entirety of the Pokemon franchise. Looking at the classification of being a physical tank, Wishiwashi ranks last amongst all Pokemons that were released in the Alola region. It also ranks last in terms of being a special tank when compared with all Alolan Pokemon. Wishiwashi's form change from solo to school form is the largest single instance of stat increase from one Pokemon form to another, even beating out Eternatus to Eternamax. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Wishiwashi. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Gourgeist. When looking at all Grass Ghost dual type Pokemon, Gourgeist leads in the following categories: highest defense allocation, highest bulk, largest bulk allocation, if all special stats were removed, and highest defense to special defense ratio. Gourgeist's defense stat is so great that when in comparison to all other dual type grass Pokemon, it's tied for having the third highest defense, only behind those who are associated with a type that on average has the highest defense. Out of all regular and regional form Pokemon, only Gourgeist has the following stat line: a defense stat greater than attack stat greater than speed greater than special defense greater than HP, and HP greater than special attack. Out of over 1000 Pokemon, not a single other one completes such a condition. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Gourgeist. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Ambipom. If all normal types were set in alphabetical order, Ambipom would be the first one to have any stat category hit a triple digit value. Looking at the classification of being a physical sweeper, Ambipom ranks itself in 4th amongst all normal type Pokemon, only behind those with legendary stat lines. Ambipom's speed is so high that when in comparison to all mono normal type Pokemon, it is tied for being the second fastest, only behind the Pokemon that has the highest base stat in the entire franchise. Yeah, those were some distinct stats for Ambipom. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Sceptile. Offense is a Pokemon's attack, special attack, and speed. Looking at all mono grass type Pokemon, Sceptile comes out on top. In fact, its speed stat is so high that it alone would lead against all mono type grass type Pokemon as well. Looking at the classification of being a special sweeper, and in comparison to all 127 regular form grass type Pokemons that have been released, Sceptile is still able to rank first on having the highest score, with a value of 225. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Sceptile. Just know it's the greatest Pokemon of all time. And what Pokemon do you want to see next? That's about it. Alright, here we go. Extremely specific stat. This time we got Stakataka. When combining the sum of a Pokemon's best 3 stats together, Stakataka leads against all other Steel type Pokemon. Stakataka also leads all Steel types in having the largest defense stat with 211. Looking at the classification of being a physical tank, Stakataka leads against all Steel types and all Rock type Pokemons. Yeah, those are some distinct stats for Stakataka. What Pokemon do you want to see next? And that's about it. Yeah, those were some extremely specific stats. If you watched the entire video, just know it means a lot to me. And for those who requested a specific Pokemon and are wondering when it's their turn, I'll show you guys this list of what Pokemon you can expect to see soon. And yeah, as long as requests for these videos keep coming, I'll keep making them. So comment which Pokemon you want to see get their stats dissected. And yeah, that's about it.